Thank you, Joe. I'm surprised your voice hasn't cracked yet. Yeah. But it's always a pleasure to be in Breakout Room B.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for the great introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm Arun Ramakrishnan. I am a product manager with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and with me is
Usha Ganesh. I'm the director of the Cloud Business Office at Global Payments. I'm also a FinOps certified practitioner, engineer, and an ambassador to this awesome community.
All right. Awesome. Quick show of hands. How many of you are multi-cloud customers today? All right. That's great. I would guess that 98% of this group was like a multi-cloud customer. So this was like a survey that Oracle actually sponsored recently, and we found that 98% of the respondents to that survey are interested in becoming multi-cloud. And what are the drivers for customers wanting to become multi-cloud is, A, it's data residency, right? Like maybe a cloud provider just isn't available in the country that you want to expand to. Or B, it's cost optimization, like the usage times rate equation that was being hammered into you in the FinOps courses, right? It's an optimization opportunity from a rate perspective by choosing the right cloud provider, and you're no longer kind of tied to a particular cloud provider. And it's business agility and innovation. Maybe a cloud provider does like something better than another one. And you're not tied to, because you have one workload with a particular cloud provider, you're no longer just tied to using them for everything. So Usha, why don't you tell us about a little more about Global Payments and your journey into multi-cloud?
Has anybody heard of Global Payments before? Awesome. Cool. If you haven't, I'm assuring you, you have experienced our awesome payment processor engine. If you haven't heard of the company, though. If you ever went to a Starbucks, got a drink, or stopped at Burger King, filled up your gas at a 7-Eleven, shopped at H&M, made a PayPal transfer, or went to the Atlanta Falcons games at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you have experienced the power of technology that Global Payments provides. So we are in two spaces. One is called the issuer side of the payment industry, which is all about the financial institutions, the banks, the credit card companies, the companies that provide credit cards for your retail outlets, right? Say you walk into Old Navy and you go, oh, if you buy something for $100 today, you get 30, and use your credit card, you get 30% off. So, well, that's part of it. That's the issuer side of the business. The merchant side is what I called out earlier, the Starbucks, the 7-Eleven, the Volkswagen, the US banks, all of those institutions that have point of sale systems where you swipe a card. Global Payments is 27,000 team members worldwide, so it's not small by any means. We are a Fortune 500 company with $8.67 billion in revenue as of 2023. And we had 73 billion transactions that we processed last year. So pretty crazy number. We also have a lot of M&A activity, which kind of helps us with this whole multi-cloud situation, right? So we have Heartland Payment Solutions, which kind of is like your My School Bucks or like your lunch money payment school solutions, Active Network, or you might have heard of Advanced MD. So like we have all of these different M&A activities. So like there's different things that we all need to bring and integrate together, which is very helpful from a multi-cloud perspective. So we started our journey first back in August of 2016 when Global Payments decided we are going to go fully into the Google workspace. We are going to be very integrated there. We are going to use G Suites for everything we do. And that was our first entry. And it was kind of led by the leaders to say, hey, this is where we are going as a company. We're just going to move in. We did acquire TSYS. Global Payments acquired TSYS back in 2017. And in 2020, because TSYS was already on some of the AWS services, we have a strategic partnership with them to modernize our issuing platform. And then from there, we moved further and we went into a strategic partnership with Google in February of 2021. And this was a deliberate strategy by Global Payments. Like we have two different separate sides of the business. We wanted to keep them separate. There's a lot of intersection that happens. So from a strategic priority, it just made sense for us to be on two different clouds. And then as recent as February 2024, we kind of signed up with OCI as well. Why, you ask? There were several key benefits to it, right? One of the things is we were going on multi-year license renewals happening, so every time we go in, we were like getting, signing up for the services and things like that. And it just made sense for us to say, okay, we're just going to be on the cloud perspective. There were several benefits we could get out of that. One was we were able to get better licensing terms. We are able to take our existing license and move them into the cloud, so it's the BYOL aspect of it. We are able to leverage a lot of the credits and the commitments that Arun will talk about later. And the compatibility, we already had Oracle databases that we're using. I'm pretty sure most of you do as well. It just made sense because while Oracle does support multi-cloud integration, it is going to be obviously a seamless integration when it comes to OCI, right? And for me personally, is the structured hierarchy. From a FinOps perspective, I was able to get a centralized view, more of a better control over what was happening. And I think, Arun, can you talk to the technical aspects of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do like a quick 101 for those who are not familiar with OCI. So OCI has this concept of grouping your organizations together. And think of it like what this does. An organization is essentially like a grouping of all of your workloads or tenancies together. And what it does is it enables you to share your subscription. In the focus terms, a subscription is essentially your billing account, right? It's your billing account ID that you get to, it's like, it has all your commitment terms, it has your rate card information, all of that good stuff associated. And you get to share it across like all of your business units, if you would. And within an organization, you can have multiple tenancies. Tenancy is essentially a way for you to establish isolation of workloads based on identity boundaries across your different business units. And again, going back to those who are familiar with Focus, in terms of Focus, like a tenancy would map to like a sub-account ID. Now, in a couple of unique things about OCI, one is we have this construct called compartment. Think of a compartment as very similar to a folder, where within a tenancy, all of your resources live in the construct of a compartment. And the advantage that it gives you is you could, even within your tenancy, let's say you have like a test environment and a production environment, you could like separate them out by having like those two workloads live in two separate compartments and manage identity boundaries completely different, permissions completely different for them. And another cool thing about, and I think this is Usha's favorite subject for anybody who attended her favorite call, is at a resource level, we support tagging, right? So you can associate tags to a given resource, and we'll talk more about like cost reporting and tagging and all of that good stuff in the coming slides. Now, from a centralized functionality perspective, like Usha brought up like a lot of good important points that were like global payments cared about, right? So what does this shared single commitment mean? So think of it like a way where you can share your commitment dollars across all of your business units. And the advantage that gives you is essentially fungibility. If you end up in scenarios where one business unit is under-consuming and another business unit is over-consuming, then things kind of balance out and you're not forfeiting any dollars that you committed to Oracle in that case.
Yeah, so like the risk of over-coverage or over-commitment is so much lesser in this aspect because you can bring in all your tenancies in. So we already had some existing tenancies. We were just able to build out a parent tenancy and bring those existing tenancies in as child tenancies, and they can be part of that same commitment pool as well.
Yeah. And another important thing that customers want to see from a governance perspective, like having things in an organization construct gives you the ability to put what we call like security postures or governance postures on your entire fleet. Some of this includes like, what regions can your tenancies subscribe to? If anybody attended Usha's talk previously, like I think that was one of the anomaly detection scenarios you brought up, right? Where maybe somebody subscribes to like a region they weren't supposed to and spins up workloads. Like you can prevent some of those things outright. Another great thing that it offers you is quota policies, where you can enforce quota policies to ensure that your tenancies, your child tenancies aren't spinning up the resources that they weren't supposed to be, like expensive
Beyond a certain
resources.
level,
Yeah. Like you don't want your test environment spinning up, hopefully, like, very expensive GPU resources or database instances with licenses. So those are some of the things that you can restrict.
Yeah, and so while I was prepping for this, and again, I'm the FinOps practitioner, I am not the most technical person, right? I'm not the engineer there. When I was talking about this, and I was talking to my enterprise architecture team, to my platform engineering team, and I was asking them about why exactly they do what they do, one of the things they called out was like the entire security and governance framework that was already in place. So they're like, it made it so much more easier for us to push things out there. We didn't have to go ahead and construct everything. It was already in place. So what would have taken us months to do was happening like in a much shorter period of time. And so that was a shout out that they did give me that I'm passing on to you guys. But that was another key aspect of it.
Yeah, and last but not least, Usha's favorite subject, tagging. That's another thing that you can enforce from an organization perspective. Like you can define the namespaces so you have consistency across all of your tenancies.
Yeah, so from tagging perspective, right, like when I came into my role, we already were in the AWS and GCP space. I've been in my role for about two plus years now. So the good part of last year for me has been involved in going and doing a lot of tagging enforcement, tagging compliance, tagging remediation, trying to normalize everybody's tagging according to the set format and standards as prescribed by the standard conventions that we have in place. So for me, when we learned that we are going to this new space, I was excited because it gives me a clean sheet of paper to where I could build all of this out. I could enforce my tagging policies. I could make default tags in place, and I could put in restrictions to say, if you do not follow my rules, you're going to be kicked out, right? So that power trip was good. Anyway, but so that's the tagging part of it. And so do you want to call out like some of the key aspects of the tagging there?
Yeah, so some of the key advantages that from OCI tagging perspective is we offer you an unlimited amount of tags. We have what we call tag namespaces that customers can define. And within those tag namespaces, you can have like, tag values, key value pairs defined. So we support about 64 namespaces per tenancy. We also give you the ability to do like tag defaults so that, you have enforcing, like you have inheritance of tags, and as well as you can enforce the requirement of certain tags when you spin up resources. It doesn't always work like the way it's intended to, but our intentions are good. The more key advantage that I want to call out is like all of our tags are in a nutshell cost tracking tags. They show up in our cost reports, they show up in our visualization tools, they show up in our budgets. So you can create like, budgets based on them. You can do like attribution and allocation based on them.
Yeah, imagine having like a product or application tag that you have set up, and then in all of your reports, you're already doing that slice and dice capability. You're able to build out better reports. You're able to build it out at a better granularity. So that centralized visibility is also there, right? For us, from a FinOps practitioner perspective, on like say AWS side, because we have a lot of M&A activity, there are multiple organizations. So we go either log into all of them to enforce certain things, or reach out to the key stakeholders to go make those updates. With OCI, I can just go to the parent tenancy, and then I can see everything that is underneath it from a child tenancy perspective. So for monthly reporting and invoicing, what we are doing is we're building out those reports and then just putting it out there, and teams just come and consume it. So it's just a one-stop shop for me, which makes my life so much more easier, especially when you consider it's multi-cloud, so it's like I'm going to multiple areas. But the other cool thing is it is also integrated into Cloud Health, which is a cost management tool that we use. So since that API integration is there, I can just pull it out from Cloud Health itself. Also from a, like the whole cloud cost management tool, that's at the parent level. So then when I go into that parent tenancy and everything else is mapped to it, then I can look from there into what the resources are, what the costs are at the child aspect of it, which really helps with cost allocation as well.
Yeah, like Usha called out, like a lot of these are like, it was done intentionally so that we're centralizing cost on the parent tenancy of an organization so that it gives you that centralized view, and it also gives you the ability to, like if you're integrating with a third-party cloud cost management provider like
Yeah.
you do with Cloud Health. Cloudwain supports us. Cloudability Aptio is another great partner of ours. So it reduces the amount of effort required for them to import your costs and understanding your workloads.
So there's also new features. So like I said, we have only been in here since February of 2024, so I am yet to explore everything here. So I can't really come and say like, oh, we have done a lot of this optimization. We are still uploading workloads in there. So there's few features that you talked about that I was excited about.
Yeah.
So one is FinOps Hub.
Yeah, so these are some of the new features we very recently launched. This is FinOps Hub. So kind of aligned with like the different FinOps phases. We have like a centralized dashboard on the parent tenancy where the inform section essentially gives you insight, high-level insight into what's the overall consumption across all of the tenancy workloads. What are the things, like if you have budgets, then what are your most expensive budgets? You can look at that in a centralized location as opposed to like today. Like previously, you had to navigate into those individual pages. Now we're kind of centralizing all that information together. So FinOps practitioners such as Usha can just go into one portal and get the information they need. Similarly, that same dashboard view also has like an optimized page where Usha can go in and see, okay, here's the top recommendations, the optimization recommendations that exist for my environment and which ones should I be paying attention to.
And then you also have the anomalies one, right, where you can set up thresholds and cost overages.
We have budget monitoring.
Yep.
We're working on anomalies.
Yep. And then the other cool part is a usage statement, where we can get those reporting. It's all consolidated by subscription and tenancy.
Yeah, so this is another very recent feature that we've launched. Right now it's available in Excel format. We're working on supporting PDF format in the very near future, as well as like, so what this is essentially, think of like not all of your finance personas are tech savvy. And we've spoken to customers where a lot of cases the finance personas do not have access to the OCI tenancy or they do not want to log into another tenancy and try and extract that information out, right? So we're essentially generating like monthly reports which give these finance personas a breakdown of what their consumption is for a given subscription based on all the underlying tenancies. So think of it like multiple tenancies are sharing a subscription. You will see what is the consumption by each subscription, and based on like, you know, the SKU ID or the part number that's in the contract. So a lot of times the finance personas are looking for that information so that they can reconcile that with like, you know, their monthly invoices or like kind of balance the books, if you would. We are working on like adding like commitment balances to this as well. So that's coming soon as well. So some of the key information that will benefit the finance personas is like, you know, here was the usage by SKU, by tenancy, and here was like the effective net unit price and cost that they incurred. And what's more cool is they don't have to log into the console to get this information. They can subscribe to this via email.
So basically, help them help themselves, which is one of my favorite things to do. Like the FinOps team doesn't have to keep feeding them all the information. Just come here, get it, or set up the email, and you guys are good to go. So one of the key elements of what we talked about this whole past 2 days has been shifting FinOps left, has been focus. What about that?
So we've got a couple of features for that as well. So one of them, like again, going back to the FinOps courses, like the usage times rate, this one's actually focused on optimizing your usage. So think about scenarios where you have a test environment, you have machines that don't always need to be running, like they don't need to be running after 5 p.m., they don't need to be running over the weekend. We've built resource scheduler. Think of it almost like a cron scheduler, which lets you automate the like shutting down and turning these machines back on based on your convenience. And what's more, you can do it either just focused on a direct resource, or you can do it based on parameters such as like, you know, all resources that belong to a particular compartment or have a particular tag associated with them.
So I was here last year. Last year, I was talking about shifting FinOps left and how I would like my ARC intake process to be able to put some optimizations at the time of design, rather than go behind and then go fix things up, right? So one of the key things we talked about was the resource scheduler, how we can, at the time of design, decide who is going to be working on this, when are they going to be working, which time zone are they working on it, and how we can, in those resources, put that scheduler in place so that those instances are shut down when that team is not going to be working, and then it automatically comes back up. So this is something we are actively incorporating into our designs. Our teams are thinking about it at the time of design approval, at the time of going through our enterprise architecture process. So this would definitely be a part of what we are using up.
And last but not least, we could not leave FinOps X without talking about focus support. So this launched a couple of weeks ago. OCI is we strongly believe in multi-cloud. We were one of the contributors to the Focus 1.0 spec. And the way OCI cost reports work is customers don't actually have to do any action to generate them. We generate them by default for all customers. And they just can go access them as long as they have the right IAM policy in place. So what we've been doing since the beginning of June is we've been also generating the same cost reports in the Focus format. So, and in addition, we've offered for customers who want to convert their legacy reports into the Focus format, we've launched what we call a pre-built function. So within OCI, we have the capabilities of kind of easy launch functions which do certain tasks. And one of them will simply convert your legacy files into the Focus format. So we would really love for you to try them out if you are interested in Focus and give us feedback so that we can continue to improve and optimize on that.
Thanks, Arun. So where do we want to start off with, right? So for those who are fortunate enough to be in a situation where you are able to set up a new cloud space, you have a nice blank sheet of paper that you can work with, here are certain recommendations I would have for how you go about with your journey. First, organize your resources, right? Talk to your key stakeholders, plan who's going to be, how the architecture is going to be designed, how your compartments are going to be set up from an organization perspective, where your hierarchies are going to be, who gets central view, and all of that information and the tags that you're going to put in place. What are you going to be your mandatory tags, your default tags? How is it going to be set up at the parent level? How is it going to be brought down, and what kind of override capabilities are you going to allow in? Are there any UDF tags that you want to put in place? This is the time to plan that out, design, and put it in place. Democratize your data. Make sure your IAM policies are in place to where the people who need that information are able to access it. For example, the FinOps team, if they're able to access that central billing console, and you're going to be able to go in there and grab all your reports and your resources all in one place, you're setting them up for success. You're setting them up for perfect cost allocation possibilities. And they're just going to be that much more effective in helping serve you guys. Create your groups and then be proactive in that optimization. You use that resource scheduler, leverage cost optimization tools such as Cloud Advisor. Put in your quotas in place. He talked about quotas where you can say in your development areas, you can put in levels to say, it cannot go above a certain limit. That is an automatic prevention capability. You do not have to come and do anomaly detection and catch it after it happens. You can already say, this is my risk space. This is how much I'm willing to let it go to before I step in and do something about it. And then customize your needs, right? So you get your data, the cost reports to your data warehouse and build it out with your solution of choice, build out your dashboards, build out the data and however you can use it. And like us, if you're using a cloud cost management tool, you can connect them to those tools and be able to use that information from a one-stop place. Finally, leverage resources. We are all here at FinOps X. We have amazing people that we can connect with, community that we can connect with. And one resounding thing that I keep hearing from everybody is how everybody is so nice, everybody is very helpful. And I think that is very unique to the FinOps community. There is a Slack channel out there for OCI as well. And I think Arun is part of that Slack channel.
I am part of the Slack
which is primarily
channel.
how I've been communicating with him. And so get out there, ask your questions. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's got a better answer for you, who's going to help you find the solution. I will be there too. I will try to help you as much as I can because I'm learning in this process as well.
And you don't have to wait to communicate with me on Slack. I'll be at the booth right after this.
And yeah, so if you need to connect with us, there we are from a LinkedIn perspective. Happy to connect with you guys, learn along on this journey, and talk to you all.
Yeah, and we're open for questions.
Hello. How does you mentioned the optimizer, how does that interact with Cloud Advisor? Is Cloud Advisor pulling in from optimizer or vice versa, or are they?
I think we mean the optimization solution in Cloud Advisor.
Okay.
Yeah, but Usha is talking about like Cloud Health. So I think you use Cloud Health for your optimization recommendations, right?
We use variety of resources,
Yeah.
but yes, primarily, like we use Cloud Health. We have our own built-in Looker dashboards that we use as well. So we haven't quite gotten to the place of OCI optimization yet. We are still in the process of building it all out.
Okay.
But we can leverage generally we leverage both the portals as well as what is available within Cloud Health.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for your sharing. We are a Kubernetes user on OCI. What is the best way to sort of visualize our cost of usage if we don't have any budget for Cloud Health?
We are working on it. It's on our roadmap to like give customers greater insight, but we are also like some of our partners I know, like for Cloudability, for example, does do like a lot of like namespace level attribution today for their Kubernetes clusters.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
So in your focus format, is SaaS information like HR and ERP included in that?
Not today. We're working on it.
You can toss it, Joe.
Yeah, my question is just on, what type of native monitoring do you have on usage data? As far as like utilization of your instances and your storage volumes and that type of data, like in AWS, you have to enable CloudWatch and custom metrics and pay for all of that. So I was just curious, how does it work in OCI?
Yeah, so we have all of those as well. Like we generate metrics, we have the ability to capture metrics at a resource level as well. But purely from a cost perspective, like our budgets, they do like monitoring, they do cost level monitoring, either a compartment or a tags, or if you're a parent tenancy, you can monitor costs that are happening at a child level. And you can set up multiple alerts. These alerts can be set up based on like actual dollar value thresholds or even forecasted numbers, right? So, and these alerts, today the way we do it, they trigger either an email, or if you want them to do more, because they connect to our event service, they can do a lot more sophisticated stuff as well. Okay.
So I work with Arun.
Yeah.
All of our cost and utilization monitoring is available for free, because I think one of your questions was paying for it. We also have integrations with, like if you want to do more sophisticated things with your utilization data, you can integrate with our autonomous database and analytics cloud and things like that. Yeah.
Well, if you have any additional questions about OCI, Arun, where can they find you?
They can find me at the booth.
Find them at the
Or
booth.
on LinkedIn.
And Usha,
Or on Slack.
Usha, if anyone ever has any questions for you, how can they find you?
You can find me on Slack.
On Slack. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Give our presenters a big round of applause.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thanks for watching. Check out more FinOps X 2024 content on our YouTube channel on the 2024 playlist. Support our channel by liking, subscribing, clicking the notification bell, and by leaving comments and questions for our speakers. We appreciate your support.